K2-18b. Let's start off with recent discoveries. The planet known as K2-18b is a planet that is rising through the ranks as a place where humanity might just be able to live one day, as long as other data about the planet holds up. The reason that K2-18b is getting a lot of attention is because of a recent discovery by the Hubble Space Telescope in that there is water vapor on the planet in the atmosphere. This is very important, as water on a planet is one of the first things that NASA and other space programs look for when it comes to habitable planets. This is the only planet right now that we know outside the solar system that has the correct temperature to support water. It has an atmosphere and it has water in it, making this planet the best candidate for habitability we know right now. University College London astronomer Angelo Saris said during a press conference upon the discovery of the water vapor. The problem? The planet is huge, and we don't know a lot about the rest of it. But it could be something big going forward, only time will tell. TeeGarden B and C. Found just 12.5 light-years from Earth around a star known as TeeGarden, two planets have been noted by scientists to be potential candidates for habitation, known as TeeGarden B and C. They have the right size, are within the habitable zone of their star, and more. The two planets resemble the inner planets of our solar system, explains lead author Matthias Siegmeister of the Institute for Astrophysics at the University of Göttingen. They are only slightly heavier than Earth and are located in the so-called habitable zone, where water can be present in liquid form. Should they be deemed habitable, it could lead to many big things for humanity. But there is still a lot to study for both of them. Kepler 438b. Located 470 light-years away from Earth, Kepler 438b is a long way away. But scientists still love this planet because it's so similar to Earth in many respects. How exactly do you measure that? Well, believe it or not, there is an Earth Similarity Index, and Kepler 438b ranks pretty high on it apparently. In fact, it has an 88% similarity of Earth. That's really high, and so many are hoping to learn more about this planet because it could be one that is supporting life right now. Then again, even though it's a 12% difference, that could be all it takes to make it vastly different from Earth as a whole, including not having an atmosphere, getting much more sunlight than we do, and more. Still, as a blueprint for Earth-like planets, Kepler 438b does rank highly. Kepler 452b. This planet was discovered in 2015, and upon observing the planet, the people who found it decided to name it Super-Earth. Kepler 452b is actually 5 times the size of our Earth. But ironically, in terms of the orbit it has around its sun, it's not that far off. It does it in 385 days compared to our 365. That's basically just another month, which wouldn't be too bad. Sadly, the other aspects of Kepler 452b are bad. In space, size really does matter. Our planet is perfect in many aspects in regards to size, and that includes how big its gravity is. Kepler 452b has gravity twice the size of Earth, and because of its ability to absorb more sunlight via its star, the planet is actually much hotter than our Earth is. It wouldn't be impossible to live there, but it would be hard. Corot 7b. Corot 7b made a lot of waves when it was discovered back in 2009, mainly because it looked to be a terrestrial planet that could have a future for humanity. But it's also a reminder that just because something looks good doesn't always mean it has what you need. In this case, while Corot 7b is only 1.5 times the size of Earth, which is a pretty good size-wise, it's really close to its sun. By that I mean it orbits its sun in 20 hours flat. As a result, the planet is unbearably hot. Oh well, onwards and upwards, right? Gliese 667cc. In our own solar system, Mars is said to be the place that is the likely spot where humanity will try and colonize first. But out in space, about 23.6 light-years away, there is actually a planet that looks a lot like Mars. So much so that it's called Mars's cousin. This is Gliese 667cc. Now ironically, while it's called Mars's cousin, it's a planet that has an 86% Earth Similarity Index, which is impressive given that the planet is actually 3.8 times the size of Earth. The fact that it has 3 suns in its sky and that its temperature is a bit colder than Earth by a not insignificant margin. Not to mention, because of the 3 suns, the terrain of Gliese 667 CC isn't the best. It has a very dried out exterior, not unlike Mars. Still, scientists see hope here because the planet gets 90% of the sunlight that Earth gets. So it's possible that despite these flaws, there could be a location on the planet where humanity could live well enough. Gliese 581G. This planet here has another name, and one that's actually a bit cooler: Zarmina. Oh, and it's only 20 light-years away from Earth. It was discovered in 2010 by Stephen Vogt. There are some immediate problems with the planet though. It's another in a long list of planets that are tidally locked with the Sun, which again limits where we can live on it, and what we can do with it. However, in this unique case, Zarmina's atmosphere is said to be so strong that it can actually disperse things so that the side facing the Sun is much more habitable and the excess would be sent to the dark side of the planet. To that end, it's possible that there's at least one ocean on this world. Now, its year is only a little over 60 days, and its temperatures can get pretty cold because the Sun isn't as strong as our own, but some scientists think that there's a high probability that Zarmina has life on it. Barnard Star B. Found in 2018 and located a mere 6 light-years away from Earth, that's really close for the record, Barnard Star B is the second closest exoplanet to Earth right now. But like many planets, there is already some problems being noted by scientists. First off, the mass. The size and mass of Barnard Star B is actually 2.3 times more than Earth, and as noted, that could have a huge impact on the gravity of the planet. Plus, the planet is orbiting a red dwarf star, and its distance ensures that the planet doesn't get a lot of sunlight, which is sad because its orbit of about 233 is actually really appealing. It's interesting to note that it took them this long to find the planet despite it being so close to Earth, and us having found planets much farther away. It actually took a wide array of telescopes and organizations to find it, which does raise an interesting question. If we just found this Earth-like planet in 2018 and it's really close to Earth, are there others out there just waiting to be discovered within the same range? Venus. Surprised? You shouldn't be. There's a reason that Venus is referred to as a sister planet to the Earth, as it's honestly not too far from what Earth is and what a habitable planet could be. However, as you hopefully know, Venus is a cautionary tale of what could happen if we let the greenhouse effect take over the planet. The reason we don't colonize Venus is because it's closer to the Sun, which makes the planet a lot hotter. A byproduct of that heat is the gases that fill up the atmosphere. It's toxic, and it makes the planet even hotter. Some scientists still think that we can either live there or restore the atmosphere in a way to make things cooler. But for now, that's just wishful thinking. Kepler 22b. Found 600 light-years from Earth, Kepler 22b is within the habitable zone of its star. As well as being twice the size of Earth, the yearly rotation is somewhat similar to our own at about 292 days. Now, temperature-wise, the planet actually isn't too bad. The best readings state that at its worst it may only get down to 11 degrees Fahrenheit, and at its best it'll be around 71 degrees Fahrenheit, which means the planet doesn't get immensely hot, but also not too cold. The catch though, why is there always a catch? Is that the outer layer of the planet is believed to either be all water or all gas. It's unclear how this could affect humanity, but it's something to note. Still, this is considered one of the best Earth-like planets that we know of right now, and some are even stating that, should Earth evacuate, we'd be going to it over other possible contenders.
KOI 7711.01. In total, there are 4,496 planets that the Kepler Space Telescope has predicted exist, with more than half being confirmed planets. Of those planets, 30 of them are sized similarly to Earth and are in the habitable zone next to their star. That's great news for future travelers looking to flee Earth to somewhere new. One of these potential planets that could sustain life is known as KOI 7711.01. Added to the confirmed planet list in 2017, this spectacular place might be the planet most like Earth ever found. It's 1,700 light years away and orbits a star that's a lot like our own Sun. So what's so special about KOI 7711.01? Well, it's about 30% larger than the Earth and it's in the habitable zone. This means that it gets the right amount of heat to warm the planet like Earth. Plus, the solar warmth on this planet could help produce liquid water on the planet's surface. Now, don't get your spaceship ready and plot course to KOI just yet. There's still a lot scientists don't know about this planet. Although we get a similar amount of heat on Earth as they do on KOI 771.01, we don't know whether it's really Earth's twin. Before people will travel there, assuming that we ever become technologically advanced enough to do so, we need to learn about the planet's atmosphere and whether there's water on the planet as of now. And those are two really large ifs when it comes to sustaining life on another planet. Kepler 186f. Another planet that humans could potentially live on is Kepler 186f. This planet is incredibly special to humans as it is the first validated Earth-sized planet that orbits a star in the habitable zone. Therefore, this planet gets enough energy from the Sun from its distance away from its star. Plus, it's in just the right location to potentially have water on its surface. Kepler 186f is really cool because it started things off when it came to searching for Earth-like planets. It was humans' first confirmation that other planets like the Earth might actually exist. These planets are also our best chances of species survival in the event of a worldwide catastrophe. Kepler is very close sized to Earth, with Kepler 186f being even less than 10% larger. The only problem is that scientists don't know what its mass composition or density are, but don't despair. Scientific research suggests that based on its orbital pattern and location, this planet is most likely rocky. And that's good news for us, as we would hate to try and land on a gassy planet only to find out it doesn't support life. Now, from what we do know, Kepler 186f is very different from the Earth in a number of ways. First, its year is only 130 days long. It's also at the outer edge of the habitable zone, so the sun from that planet is as dim as our sun an hour before sunset. That means Kepler 186f doesn't receive nearly as much energy from its sun as we do from ours here on Earth. Gliese 832c. Back in 2014, a group of astronomers at the University of New South Wales predicted the existence of a planet they called a super-Earth. They were looking at some planetary bodies that were previously discovered near the habitable zone of Gliese 832, which was best known as an exoplanet similar to Jupiter. Then they discovered Gliese 832c. The planetary system surrounding Gliese 832 is almost a miniature version of our own planetary system. That's because it has a giant outer planet and an interior, potentially rocky planet. Just like with every other planet that has been discovered in a habitable zone, we're uncertain as to what the atmosphere is like on Gliese 832c. However, we do know that there are a few interesting things that might change your thoughts on one day moving to this super Earth. First, a year passes incredibly quickly, in only 35.68 days. The mass is over 5 times larger than Earth's. On the other hand, it gets about the same amount of energy from its sun as we do from ours. Regardless, if there is a similar atmosphere on this planet, then it has Earth-like temperatures that shift suddenly during the seasons. This would make seasonal shifts incredibly extreme, as it could potentially go from super cold to super hot. And there's even a chance that this planet is more like Venus, and instead is too hot for life. Ross 128. Last year, scientists made an exciting discovery when they located the planet Ross 128b. So why was the scientific community so interested in the news? Because there are many great things that make Ross 128b a great planet for potentially sustaining life. First, there's the fact that Ross 128b is very temperate. Scientists predict that the temperature of Ross 128b is very similar to that of the Earth's. That's because it orbits a red dwarf, one of the most common, coolest and faintest types of star in the universe. It's also much easier for scientists to find planets that are like Earth around red dwarfs. than it is to find them around stars like our Sun. Second, the Earth-sized planet is very close to Earth, at only 11 light-years away. It's the second closest temperate planet ever detected. Plus, because the Sun it orbits is inactive, life might have a much easier time flourishing on this planet than others we've discovered. Third, the Sun that Ross 128b orbits is much quieter than most suns. What this means is that there aren't any solar flares all the time that launch deadly ultraviolet rays and X-rays toward the planet. This is a common thing for red dwarf stars to do, but not a risk on Ross 128b, fortunately. Plus, the planetary system is moving towards us, meaning it'll become our stellar neighbour in about 79,000 years. That sounds like a long time, but compared to the age of most planets, it's only really a short time from now. Proxima Centauri's Proxima b. The closest star to our Sun is known as Proxima Centauri, and it's only 4.2 light-years or 25 trillion miles away. Proxima Centauri's planetary system hosts Proxima Centauri b, a planet that sits in the habitable zone, yet whose habitability hasn't been totally established. Although there's a chance, depending on what the atmosphere is like, that Proxima Centauri b can host life, there are also some factors that suggest that even if this was possible, we humans probably wouldn't want to live there. For example, the stellar wind pressures faced on Proxima Centauri b from the star are violent, and over 2,000 times what we experience here on Earth. In addition to this, Proxima Centauri is known as a flare star, and goes through rapid changes in brightness and energy emissions that create solar storms. Therefore, it's possible that Proxima b is irradiated if it doesn't have a strong magnetic field or a protective atmosphere. Even within all these hazards, if everything is perfect, then there could be a hospitable environment on this planet. Water and a strong atmosphere could make this potentially scary planet cool. With oceans and temperature close to Earth's, this would make a very large portion of the planet habitable, although it would be the side facing away from the Sun. Kepler 62f. Nearly 1,200 light-years away in the constellation of Lyra is the star Kepler 62 and the planet Kepler 62f. Kepler 62f is a super-Earth exoplanet that orbits the outer area of the habitable zone. There's a good chance that it's a rocky or ocean-covered planet, making it a great but far-away contender for a planet that can sustain human life. There are some interesting things about Kepler 62f. Its year is about 267 days, and it receives 59% less sunlight than our Earth. Because of its age, there's a good chance that there's a substantial amount of water on the planet. It's also possible that the planet is completely covered by ocean. There's a lot we still need to learn before heading over there. Due to the distance the planet is from the Sun, there's also a chance that the planet is covered entirely in ice. However, scientists believe that there are more scenarios of the planet being habitable than not, meaning it has a great potential for the future. KOI 7923.01. Imagine a planet that's very similar to Earth. A year is roughly the same amount of time at 395 days. The planet is 97% the size of Earth. Sounds like a great potential planet to host life, right? Well, there's one minor issue. Because the planet is further from the Sun than our planet and their Sun is colder, a recently discovered Earth-like planet, KOI 7923.01, probably has a climate that's tundra most of the time. The good news, however, is that it's still warm enough to hold liquid water. Not much else is known about KOI 7923.01 at this time. However, scientists will investigate this planet in the future, as it's just one of 30 known habitable planets. NASA and other space agencies will research life on these planets further in the future. The Trappist Planets. Back in 2016, scientists discovered 7 rocky planets in the planetary system known as the Trappist Planets. 3 of these 7 planets are located within the habitable zone and are like the size of Earth. At only 43 light-years away, these were exciting discoveries because scientists had never found so many alien worlds in one planetary system. However, just like every other planet that could be habitable to human life, we need more research. That's because there's a chance that intense radiation and particles from the nearby star might have stripped the atmosphere from the planets. This, of course, will reduce the likelihood that life can form and thrive. Plus, it could be that these planets are tidally locked. That's because they're all so close to neighbouring planets, therefore temperatures will fluctuate considerably unless they have strong atmospheres. Overall, however, it's exciting news that planetary bodies that are habitable to human life might not be as rare as originally believed.